Scott, please state your name and spell it for us.
JSmith, JASONSMITH.
Where do you work?
Indianapolis IPS Step Ahead Academy.
And then what is your position?
I am the head coordinator.
The only other coaching I do is if you can smile just a little bit, it'll brighten the octave of your voice. Don't be disingenuous. If it feels fake, don't do it. Just it'll brighten the feel.
Hello. Yeah, I'll probably go after around lunchtime. Thank you. Bye. It's my math teacher telling me that there's a lull in voting if I want to go now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Again, just talk to Scott. Even if Whitney or I ask you a question, just answer to Scott.
All right. I'm going to probably lie about why I became a special ed teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of my licensing requirements, it was kind of you're going to do special ed.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
So, you gotta get these things so I don't dingle every time I move. We're good whenever you're ready.
Gotcha. All right. So, we've kind of given you. I think you maybe saw these questions ahead of time, but we're going to stick pretty close to this. So
Okay.
again, just very informal, relaxed. So let's start with the very first question. So, what made you decide to become a special ed teacher?
Well, I became a special ed teacher just from my reflection in elementary school and junior high and high school. I didn't necessarily have a disability, but I remember what it felt like to ask a question more than once and to kind of feel like, you're not smart or that you're dumb. And I just felt like it was a really important aspect to be able to work with kids that sometimes get pushed away or don't receive the services that they need.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've had many of these over the course of your career, but can you talk a little bit about a time where you really had an impact on a student? I'm sure you've had several, but they're like, what's maybe one story that you can relay to us where you're like, man, that was just awesome working with that student, and we had great success, and what that looked like?
Absolutely. So I had a kid a few years ago come to me mid-year. He was on the spectrum and had a very interesting background, single mom, grew up in a kind of a rough area. So you have this kid that kind of wants to be a thug, but has some, blocks in perceiving how people are interacting with him. So the first week in school, he literally got into a fight or almost got into a fight 4 times. Just not being able to read people's body language and going, too far. And so it was pretty interesting working with him because it didn't seem like at first there would be a lot that I could do for him. But adding things in with morning check-ins, working on social skills, perceptions of how, what this means, what does this body language mean? He came along and his physical aggression stopped, and he's actually a senior at a school nearby. He's going to graduate this year.
Yeah, nice. So in working with him through all of that, what did you learn from that? What was your experience, and what did you learn from that?
I learned that I remember initially going into Indianapolis Teaching Fellows and hearing that all kids could learn. I worked in different capacities for IPS before that, and I saw things from a certain viewpoint. I think he finally cemented it into my head that if teachers don't give up and they search and they try to get as much information and help as they can, and they work with the kid, try something, fail, try again, that you can help all children, and they all have a chance to have a great education.
Yeah. So it sounds like you were able to really build a great relationship with this kid.
Mm-hmm.
What do you attribute that to? How were you successful in being able to build that?
I think when you know that they need you, and his actions kind of showed that he needed me. He sought me out often, shook my hand and hugged me every time he saw me. And he kind of, quicker than I normally would have, he kind of forced a relationship. He kind of let me know that I don't really have much else and I need you. And being able to, at times, put things down and give him that attention and to let him know that I'm in his corner, and talking with him and his mother and just being there for him and listening is very impactful for kids in special education or general ed.
Yeah. So when you were a teacher, what is it that brought you back to being a special ed teacher year to year to year to year?
What brought me back was just the impact. You know, when you come into the teaching profession, you come because you want to help children, and that there's something on your heart that wants to level the playing field for kids, especially kids with disadvantages. And when you work with kids and you see them grow and you increase the pass rate and you bring it up to the pass rate of general ed students, and you see that it's powerful work and that you are enabling them to be successful, it's just, you know, it's selfless work. But as humans, we most definitely, you know, we are rewarded from the hard work and helping kids.
Yeah. So with that, what's most rewarding about being a special ed teacher from your perspective?
It's breaking down the myths and being able to show other people, the general ed teachers, kids past teachers, that if you don't, you know, give just one type of strategy for kids, you know, they like spraying the hose over the classroom. If you take the time to understand the kids and what their needs are, and you plan for that, you can level the playing field, and the kids can achieve at the same rate that other kids can achieve. But you just have to be purposeful, and you have to really, really be intentional about the decisions that you make.
Nice.
You've used the phrase level the playing field a couple of times. Can you speak more about what that means to you as a special ed teacher, to be leveling the playing field?
Absolutely. I kind of think of it as, you know, two different children going to they have the same destination in mind. And some kids can go a certain destination, and the other kid may need to go a different path to get to the same destination. Children with special needs, they have IEPs for a reason. It's not to cripple them or, you know, they're put in place so that with the help and the instructional strategies and things in place, that they're able to do the same work that all the other kids can do.
So we talk a lot about, you've referred to this several times, just in your conversation, about students. Every student is different,
Right.
and every kid has different needs. So tell me a little bit about, like, what does that mean to you when you think about, like, every kid's different, we treat kids differently, and we deal with everybody on a case-by-case basis. What does that mean to you as a special ed teacher, and how did you sort of take that mindset and incorporate it into what you did every day as a teacher?
Right. So, you know, just it's kind of a discovery. I mean, you hear about theory, and then as you teach, you realize that all children are different. And some things that I was encouraged to do early on was give entrance inventories to kids, figure out children's different learning styles, and then not stopping there, incorporating that into your planning and your lessons. You want to give kids choice in assignments and in assessments. You need to, you know, understand how kids learn best. And I believe we've been doing a disservice, you know, for hundreds of years, educating every kid in America the exact same way, sitting down, listening, to teachers, and it's just not as productive as knowing that a kid is musically inclined and not allowing them to access that in their learning. Or, kids like to get up and move around, and you're asking them to sit for 20 and 30 minutes to listen to you. So understanding the kid's interests and bringing that into the classroom is powerful.
Nice. So if you're speaking to someone who wants to join ITF, finish the following sentence for me.
Okay.
My students need a teacher who.
My students need a teacher that cares, that loves them, and will build relationships every day, start over new, no matter how the day goes. My teacher needs to try to understand me and be patient with me, because I have some hurdles to get over. And my teacher needs to, they need to work their butt off and not quit. My teacher can't quit on me.
Mm-hmm. So from just from you personally, if I came up to you and I'm teetering on, I definitely want to be a teacher, but I don't know if I should do general ed, special ed. What's your pitch to me? What would you say to me about being a special ed teacher?
I think the most powerful point about being a special ed teacher is every year you get a handful of kids that you get to know in a way that you can't get to know a group of 30 kids. You get to know them, you get to know their family, their brothers and sisters, and the one-on-one time that you get with kids, and with being able to be intentional, you get to see kids grow socially and as well as academically, and it's incredibly rewarding to be able to work with a small group of kids each year and watch them grow and succeed.
Yeah, so talk a little bit more about that. When you talk about, you mentioned parents.
Mm-hmm.
So assuming, obviously parents play a key role in your success as a special ed teacher in building those relationships.
Right.
Like, do you have a particular time where you feel like you were just, able to really do that well, and what did that look like with the parent, and what did the success look like there?
I've found that with parents with special needs kids, a lot of times they're kind of over their head. They don't know what to do, and they look at the special ed teacher as the expert, and most times they're extremely thankful and want to work with you to fill in the blanks that you have so that you can put a plan together, because they want their kid to be successful, and they know that you're a tool that can help their child become successful. And so you very quickly develop very strong relationships with parents.
Yeah. Is there any particular parent you've worked with, without naming names, that you can think of? You're just like, I remember this one time where with this particular parent and how that went, that stands out. I know you work with a lot of parents, so it's probably,
There are a lot of parents. I had a move-in conference with a very, very angry mother, because the system that her child was in the last previous years, they kind of failed her, and she was defensive, and it was very important to just listen, because she had some concerns, and to just let her know that I'm going to prove different. I'm not going to just tell you that we do things differently here, but I'm gonna prove to you, and we're gonna do this, this, and this for your child. Gave her my contact information. Call me anytime, and just be prepared to, be prepared for different types of parents. But that quickly turned around. When you can call and give positive, feedback about what your kid's doing. Bring them in for meetings and updates on what's going on. Building those relationships is very powerful.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that we hear a lot is that there's this perception that people don't, I don't want to be a special ed teacher because all I do is paperwork. It's all paperwork. I really don't deal with kids much. Can you speak to that a little bit, and what's your perception of that with, it seems like the new technology that's in place with IEPs and all that, but
Right.
it's gotten a lot better.
Well, the paperwork is I don't remember it being that much of my time. The software that you do the individual education plans on, step by step, it takes you through it. It's really interesting part is that you do get to take the kid and test the kid to find out what their strengths and weaknesses are, what kind of vocational aptitude they have, and make a plan for the kid that the teachers have to implement. And so you have a really big piece in how that kid's going to be educated. So most of the time I've spent was working one-on-one with kids or pulling small groups of 2 to 4 kids, on a daily basis, and using the data to figure out where their gaps in knowledge were and working on that to help get them up to speed.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot of the special ed role too is you're not in this alone. Like you're typically, like case conferences, you're dealing with a group of people that are all sort of focused on trying to help this kid. Can you talk a little bit about the team aspect of that and what, how that plays out?
Yeah, absolutely. The case conference team, they all bring data to evaluate and to see what, along with the parent, what does the child need and what's the best part. What are the best things that we can put in place for the child? So you really have quite a bit of help, and there is, a really strong team aspect from getting data from the students' teachers, previous teachers, the administration is, in on case conferences, to help lead and walk you through it. And so that's really a huge part of being a teacher of record for kids.
Yeah. Nice. Anything else?
When I was here last week, you shared a story, and I know you were hesitant to talk about it, but I know that it was a powerful story for you, so I don't know if it relates to special ed or not necessarily, but I know that the students that you talked about mattered to you, so I'd love to just hear that story, knowing that you're talking to people that want to become teachers. And so what is the message you would want to give them about that summer for you as a teacher?
Yeah, so a really interesting summer. 4 kids that were on my caseload over the summer got shot, and 3 of them died. One of the students, and I still have the paper, drew a picture for his English teacher. He was a 9th grader. He drew a picture, he had dreadlocks. He drew a picture of him like hugging Jesus. And that was like towards the end of the year. That summer somebody knocked on his door, and he went to the door holding his infant daughter and son, and he was shot in cold blood. And so it was really, it was a hard summer because the realities of the work that we do, our kids, not only have special needs, a lot of them grow up in rough areas. But for the kids that I've seen that are now at IU or IUPUI, the kids that are striving and being successful, we do our best and we try to empower kids and not save kids to have the skills they need and to make better choices and to be able to have a successful life and career. And sometimes there's a downside to it, and yeah.
So now that you're not a teacher and you're a coordinator, how significant of a role is it for your special ed people in your building? How important are they to the school, the function of this building?
I was privileged to be an assistant principal the last 2 years of a principal that had to break down some barriers in the ways of thinking with her special ed team. There was a lot of they can't. She believed they could. She put things in place where special ed teachers needed to work with the gen ed teachers, have lesson plans, to be more intentional about how they address the students. And the next year, the students with special needs I-STEP scores doubled from the year before. So I saw firsthand that they can. They can, if you're intentional, if you use data, if you plan. So I'm currently trying to change the thinking of my special ed staff from one of a little bit more laid back, a little bit kind of complacent, because our kids can do it and they deserve a chance to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
I have a couple quick questions. If you'll answer to Scott, like
Okay.
he asked.
All right.
You're an ITF alum, right? What part of your training through ITF provided you the most success in your role as a special education teacher? Sorry, I was holding the button. What did ITF provide you that helped you be the most successful?
Initially, tools. The summer institute is pretty rigorous, and I feel like a lot of times by the end of the day, our information was getting poured in one ear and was falling out the next. A lot of stuff made sense in August and September, and going back over notes, thinking back to workshops and classes, I was able to put the pieces together and things that they made sense. You were able to implement more. When you're getting theory, it's hard to see the big picture. I know that the way that Summer Institute is set up, it prepares you for the classroom just for the simple fact of being able to take on a big load and multitask and do multiple things in a day. Teaching's not like other jobs where you sit in your banker, you get to be an instructor and a father and a mentor and a psychologist, and it's hard work, but it's powerful work. It's potentially life-changing work for children, the things that you do, and ITF, the Summer Institute, and the ongoing training prepared me to be a highly effective teacher and got me the foundation to be a building administrator.
To follow up on that, as an administrator, you actually have fellows working for you.
Yes.
What do you see them bringing to the table that may be a strength that they have that maybe other new teachers might not be getting as well?
I think the biggest piece is like most of them did something different before they became a teacher. A lot of times, I was a graphic designer and got laid off after 9/11. And in a lot of different instances, people begin to do work and there's something missing and they don't, it's not necessarily meaningful. And so there's a draw to help children and work with children. So the background doing something different first, I think it's a big piece to that. I seek out Indianapolis Teaching Fellows because I know how rigorous the training was and the research-based strategies that are taught to fellows, and the added support of them having a coach and a mentor. It's I know what I'm getting because I'm a result of that. And from my cohort in Indianapolis Teaching Fellows, there are currently 5 or 6 that I know of that are principals or working in central office. So it gives you a foundation to not just teach, but to be able to, if you want to, down the road, become a coach or administrator. It sets you up for the future.
Yeah, nice.
One more question from me. and that is, how would you respond to someone who said, I want to be a regular teacher. I don't want to be a sped teacher. Like, obviously, that's hurts, right?
Right.
How would you respond to that?
It's hurtful because as a special ed teacher, you are a regular teacher. You get to do what many teachers don't get to do. When you have a chance to work with kids in small groups, you actually get more time with the children, and the rate that they grow is increases exponentially because of the amount of time that you get to spend with them and being able to go specifically at their needs and their gaps in their information. And I honestly, if I went back to teaching, I would go back. I've taught general ed and I've taught special ed, and I feel like I have more impact as a special ed teacher.
Anything else?
Okay.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to say? Do you feel like you haven't?
Without being cliche, going into Indianapolis Teaching Fellows, it literally changed my life because of the foundation work that was done in Summer Institute and becoming a teacher and teaching kids that weren't able to pass standardized tests for 2 or 3 tries. And because of the work that I did and the planning and the teaching that I did, they were able to pass tests and go on. Students that I've had that graduated from IU and now working at IU, there's just nothing like going home exhausted, but knowing that something that you said or did made a difference. And it's absolutely one of the best decisions I ever made.
It's fantastic.
Solid.
That's awesome.
I didn't smile once, and I didn't repeat